The City of God, Augustine's vision of two kingdoms and the meaning of history. Introduction, a response to crisis. When Rome fell to the Visigoths in 410 CE, the ancient world trembled. For centuries, the Eternal City had stood as the symbol of civilization, power, and order. Its sacking sent shockwaves throughout the Mediterranean world and raised an urgent question. Had Christianity, now the empire's official religion, weakened Rome and invited divine punishment? Augustine of Hippo, bishop of a North African city and one of Christianity's most brilliant minds, spent 13 years crafting his response. Written between 413 and 426 CE, the City of God became far more than a defense of Christianity against pagan accusations. It evolved into a sweeping philosophical and theological masterpiece that reimagined human history, questioned the nature of political power, and proposed an entirely new way of understanding humanity's place in the cosmos. This monumental work doesn't simply defend a religion. It establishes a framework for understanding all of human existence as a drama played out between two fundamental orientations: love of self versus love of God, earthly power versus heavenly citizenship, temporal kingdoms versus eternal truth. Augustine's ideas would shape Western political thought, influence centuries of Christian theology, and establish concepts that resonate even in our secular age. The two cities, a fundamental division. At the heart of Augustine's vision lies a striking metaphor. Humanity is divided into two cities, not by geography, but by love. The city of man represents those whose ultimate allegiance is to earthly power, pleasure, and pride. The city of God comprises those whose deepest love is directed toward the divine and eternal. These two cities are intermingled throughout human history, their citizens living side by side, yet fundamentally oriented toward different ends. This division isn't merely about religious affiliation. Augustine describes it as a matter of ultimate desire and worship. The city of man worships itself, its achievements, its power, its glory. Citizens of this earthly city seek fulfillment in temporal things: political dominance, military conquest, material wealth, and human praise. Even their virtues, when not directed toward God, become forms of vice, expressions of pride rather than genuine goodness. The city of God, by contrast, consists of pilgrims passing through earthly life, with their eyes fixed on an eternal homeland. These citizens may participate in earthly kingdoms, hold political office, or engage in worldly affairs, but their deepest identity and loyalty transcend any temporal institution. They recognize that no earthly city can provide ultimate meaning or lasting peace. What makes this framework powerful is its refusal of simple oppositions. Augustine doesn't advocate withdrawal from society or condemn political involvement. Instead, he asks us to examine the orientation of our loves. Do we love earthly things for their own sake, or do we love them properly, as gifts that point beyond themselves? The answer determines which city we truly inhabit. Dismantling Pagan Rome, the first 10 books. The opening portion of the City of God systematically addresses the pagan charge that Christianity caused Rome's decline. Augustine turns this accusation on its head with devastating logic and historical evidence. He reminds readers that Rome suffered terrible defeats, civil wars, and moral corruption long before Christianity emerged. The rape of the Sabine women, the assassination of Julius Caesar, the depravity of various emperors, all occurred under the watch of the old Roman gods. Moreover, Augustine challenges the very notion that earthly success indicates divine favor. The pagan view assumed that proper worship of traditional gods ensured military victory and political prosperity. Augustine rejects this transactional understanding of divine human relations. He argues that earthly fortune and misfortune fall on both righteous and wicked alike. Rain falls on the just and unjust. Historical success proves nothing about ultimate truth or divine approval. He also confronts the pagan philosophical traditions, particularly the Platonists, whom he respects but ultimately finds insufficient. While acknowledging their insights about eternal forms and the immaterial soul, Augustine argues they lack the crucial element, the incarnation of God in Christ. Philosophy alone cannot save. It can illumine the mind but cannot transform the will. Only divine grace can heal the fundamental disorder of human desire. This section demonstrates Augustine's rhetorical skill and comprehensive learning. He engages Roman history, mythology, philosophy, and culture with impressive command, systematically dismantling the intellectual foundations of pagan Rome, while showing Christianity's superiority as both a more coherent worldview and a more transformative way of life. The nature of true peace and justice. One of Augustine's most profound contributions involves his analysis of peace and justice. Every society claims to seek peace, but Augustine argues that what most call peace is merely the temporary absence of conflict, or the imposed order of domination. True peace, he insists, consists in the tranquility of order, but only when that order aligns with the proper hierarchy of loves and the true nature of reality. Earthly kingdoms can achieve a limited, provisional peace through law and governance. Augustine doesn't dismiss this achievement. Civil order remains valuable and necessary. However, such peace remains fragile and incomplete because it rests on coercion rather than love, on management of competing interests rather than genuine harmony of purpose. The city of God experiences a different quality of peace, one rooted in right relationship with God and neighbor. This peace doesn't eliminate earthly struggles or guarantee material prosperity. Instead, it provides an inner tranquility that persists even amid suffering, a confidence that the arc of history bends toward divine purposes that transcend immediate circumstances. If you're finding this exploration of Augustine's masterwork valuable, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more in-depth book analyses. We regularly examine influential works from philosophy, theology, history, and literature that have shaped human thought. If this particular examination of the City of God resonates with you, I've included a link below where you can purchase the book for deeper study. Additionally, if you prefer audiobooks, you can access the full text through Audible using the link in the description. Supporting these resources helps us continue creating content that engages seriously with important ideas. History's meaning, from creation to consummation. Augustine revolutionizes the understanding of history itself. Pagan thought generally viewed time as cyclical, endless repetitions of the same patterns, empires rising and falling in meaningless succession. Augustine proposes instead a linear, purposeful narrative, stretching from creation to final judgment. This historical vision begins with God's act of creating everything from nothing, establishing the fundamental goodness of existence. The fall of humanity introduces disorder and death, setting the stage for the long drama of redemption. History becomes the unfolding story of God's work to restore creation and gather citizens for the eternal city. Key moments mark this timeline: the flood, the calling of Abraham, the exodus from Egypt, the establishment of Israel, and ultimately, the incarnation of Christ, the pivotal event that divides all history. Each event serves not as random occurrence, but as part of an intelligible pattern, though one whose full meaning often remains hidden from participants living through it. This framework gives history meaning and direction, without claiming to predict specific outcomes or justify every event as directly willed by God. Augustine maintains considerable theological sophistication, acknowledging human freedom and the reality of evil, while insisting that God's purposes ultimately prevail. History moves toward a conclusion, the final judgment, where the two cities are definitively separated, and the city of God enters its eternal Sabbath rest. Critique of empire and political power. Perhaps surprisingly for his era, Augustine offers a deeply critical analysis of political power and imperial ambition. He refuses to baptize the Roman Empire or any earthly kingdom as a divine institution. All earthly governments remain fundamentally compromised by their reliance on violence and their participation in the libido dominandi, the lust for domination. Augustine famously compares kingdoms to large-scale robbery. Without justice, he asks, what are kingdoms but great bands of criminals? The only difference between empires and pirate gangs is scale and organization. Both take what they want by force. This doesn't mean all governments are equally wicked or that civil authority lacks legitimacy, but it does mean we should maintain a critical distance from nationalistic worship of our political communities. Christian citizens hold dual citizenship, members of earthly cities with obligations to obey laws and maintain order, yet simultaneously, citizens of the heavenly city, whose ultimate allegiance transcends any nation. This creates a kind of political modesty and skepticism toward grandiose claims made by earthly powers. No empire represents the kingdom of God. No political program achieves ultimate justice. This critique would echo through medieval and modern political thought, providing resources for resisting tyranny while also cautioning against utopian expectations for political transformation. Augustine offers neither uncritical support for existing powers nor revolutionary programs for creating heaven on earth through political action. The role of grace and human nature. Central to Augustine's entire project is his theology of grace. Human nature, after the fall, cannot achieve its own healing or salvation through willpower or moral effort alone. The will itself is damaged, oriented toward disordered loves. We need more than instruction or good examples. We need transformation. This doesn't mean humans become puppets or lose agency. Rather, Augustine argues that genuine freedom emerges only when our desires are healed and reoriented toward proper ends. Grace liberates rather than constrains, enabling us to love what we should love and to find joy in what truly fulfills our nature. This has implications for how we understand virtue and moral achievement. The classical Roman virtues, courage, temperance, prudence, justice, retain value, but their character changes depending on their ultimate orientation. Courage in service of pride and conquest differs fundamentally from courage rooted in love of God and neighbor. The outward action may appear similar, but the inward reality and ultimate meaning diverge dramatically. Eternal destiny, judgment, and the life to come. Augustine concludes his massive work by contemplating ultimate realities: death, judgment, resurrection, and eternal existence. He takes seriously both the promise of eternal life and the threat of eternal loss. The final separation of the two cities becomes permanent and visible at the Last Judgment. His descriptions of resurrection and the life to come blend biblical imagery with philosophical reasoning. The resurrected body will be transformed, freed from corruption, pain, and death, yet remaining genuinely physical and particular. The blessed will enjoy the beatific vision, seeing God face to face in a state of perfect knowledge, love, and peace. This eschatological vision isn't escapist fantasy, but serves to relativize all earthly concerns and orient present action toward eternal ends. How we live now matters, precisely because it shapes our eternal character and destiny. The two cities we inhabit through our loves determine our ultimate home. Conclusion: an enduring legacy. Augustine completed the City of God in 426 CE, just 4 years before his death, and as Vandals besieged his own city of Hippo. The Roman world he knew was collapsing, yet his work transcended those immediate circumstances to establish frameworks that would influence Western civilization for over 1,500 years. Medieval political thought, Protestant Reformation theology, and even modern secular political theory all bear marks of Augustine's influence. His critique of empire influenced Christian pacifism and just war theory, His understanding of original sin and grace shaped theological debates across centuries. His vision of history as linear and purposeful became foundational to Western historical consciousness. Even readers who reject Augustine's theological conclusions often find his psychological insights compelling. His analysis of disordered desire, his recognition that we become what we love, his understanding that earthly kingdoms never satisfy our deepest longings. These observations about human nature retain relevance regardless of one's religious commitments. The City of God ultimately invites us to examine the orientation of our own loves. What do we worship? Where does our ultimate allegiance lie? What city do we truly inhabit? These questions remain as pressing today as when Rome fell 16 centuries ago. Augustine's answers, rooted in Christian faith, but expressed with philosophical sophistication and historical wisdom, continue to challenge and provoke serious engagement with the most fundamental questions of human existence and meaning. Living between two cities. Augustine's wisdom for today. Augustine's framework speaks powerfully to our contemporary moment, perhaps even more clearly than to his own age. We live in a time of profound political polarization, where people invest ultimate meaning in their preferred parties, movements, or ideologies. Social media transforms every election into an apocalyptic battle between good and evil. Augustine's voice cuts through this fever with clarifying force. No political movement represents the City of God. His concept of dual citizenship offers a healthier approach to civic engagement. We can participate responsibly in democracy, advocate for justice, and work toward the common good without treating politics as religion or governments as saviors. This creates space for genuine political debate without demonizing opponents or expecting political victories to solve the deepest human problems. Augustine's analysis of disordered loves also illuminates our consumer culture and addiction to achievement. We chase career success, social media validation, material accumulation, and romantic fulfillment, as if these things could provide ultimate satisfaction. They cannot. Augustine doesn't ask us to despise these goods, but to love them rightly, enjoying them without worshiping them, recognizing their proper place in the hierarchy of values. His insistence that earthly success proves nothing about divine favor challenges both prosperity gospel thinking and its secular equivalent, the belief that wealth, health, and happiness indicate personal virtue or cosmic approval. Good and bad fortune fall on everyone. What matters is how we respond, what we love, and where we ultimately place our trust. Perhaps most importantly, Augustine reminds us that we live in history with purpose and direction. In an age of anxiety about the future, climate change, political instability, technological disruption, his vision offers neither naive optimism nor cynical despair. Things will not necessarily get better in any simple sense, but neither is history meaningless chaos. Our choices matter, our loves shape us, and ultimate meaning transcends whatever rises or falls in the temporal order. The question Augustine poses remains urgent. Which city do you inhabit? What do you truly worship? Where does your ultimate allegiance lie? These questions demand honest self-examination and have the power to reorder our entire lives.